Alrighty, party peoples of the interwebs, there is drama afoot on Twitter, or I should say X, formerly known as Twitter, and I typically don't get involved in this type of drama. I really don't think I'm getting involved in any drama anyhow, but I also don't like seeing people who I know are good being wrongly accused, wrongly having their names dragged through the mud, like I think is being done to James O'Keefe for reasons which we're going to get to in a second. The drama starts with a tweet from Kyle Seraphin. Now, if you don't know who Kyle Seraphin is, and you read his bio, it says podcaster, recovering FBI agent, federal whistleblower, constitutional extremist, Second Amendment defender, truth bombardier, podcast, rumble.com. Recovering FBI agent, and reading some of the comments in response to his tweet, some people are saying, once an FBI agent, always an FBI agent, and I have the humorous retort, recovering FBI agent might have fallen off the wagon or gotten back on the wagon, whichever way it goes. Bottom line, that's Kyle Seraphin. I follow him. I don't really have an issue with him, but I have an issue with this tweet and the video that was attached to it, and I'll read you the tweet. Kyle Seraphin, at Kyle Seraphin. This is footage shot by James O'Keefe III. He shared it with his team at O'Keefe Media. This is what many of you apologized for this week. Any of you have daughters in college? This young woman is half James' age. She needed an ambulance, knew exactly what night I called about, and has retained counsel. When you let your ethics and morals slip, you'll do this for a, quote, story, end quote, tagging Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer, for those of you who may or may not recall, is the one who infamously said in respect of Donald Trump, I tell ya, you take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you, end quote. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer referring to Donald Trump. Recovering FBI agent tagging Senator Schumer in this video, and I read that description, and I was expecting to see a video of James O'Keefe doing something very bad with a girl that was half his age. That she needed an ambulance at the end of the night seems to suggest that he might have done something to her very bad, very wrong, that required her to get an ambulance at the end of the night. And so I go watch this video expecting to come away from it thinking ill of James O'Keefe. It's a 14-minute video. I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's James O'Keefe recording this video of himself at a bar, seemingly talking to a very inebriated, or I should say seemingly very inebriated young woman with another guy who I don't know who it is, but I don't think it's an employee of OMG. Another guy who's, if you watch the video, you're not going to think very nicely of this guy. But bottom line, a 14-minute video of James O'Keefe recording a conversation, recording this interaction with this apparently inebriated young woman who said that she works for Chuck Schumer. So you understand the context if you even bother to go watch the video and don't just walk away having read the tweet, thinking that James O'Keefe did something to a woman half his age that necessitated an ambulance and that he did it in order to get the story. If you bother to watch the video, and it's 14 minutes long, you would see that James O'Keefe was recording this conversation, recording this interaction with someone who was clearly inebriated, although I watched this video thinking that James was recording the conversation as insurance in case this woman accused him of misconduct. I thought for a good portion of this video that the woman might have been pretending to be drunk, trying to get something out of James O'Keefe, or trying to get James O'Keefe to do something naughty to her so that she could then turn around and make accusations of sexual misconduct against James O'Keefe. I actually thought James was recording this as an insurance, as evidence that he did nothing wrong to this woman in this entire video. I don't know what the actual purpose was. I suspect it's more likely that he was recording this because he got wind of the fact that this woman worked for Chuck Schumer, clearly drunk. Maybe she's going to spill some beans, spill some meaningful intel on Chuck Schumer, and he was recording it. Nothing happens except what you see in the video, and the other guy in the video, who from what I understand is not an employee of OMG or James O'Keefe, acting a bit like an animal, if I can put it that way, a sexual animal. He appears to be quite intoxicated as well. But if the outrage of this video is you have a clearly inebriated girl and a clearly inebriated guy acting like clearly inebriated people, I think it's in a bar in DC. Well, that's just another night on the town in DC from what I can imagine. James O'Keefe offers to buy the girl a drink from the video, from what I can see. Not clear that he ever does. At some point in the video, the girl says that she's 20, which might be underage in DC, because in America, I think the drinking age is 21. But the woman was clearly drunk when this video started, not related to James O'Keefe, is in a bar already, not related to James O'Keefe, and at one point in the video, she asks James to touch her boobs, to which he says no. She was quite clearly, either drunk or faking it or very drunk. interacting with this guy who was a little bit less appropriate than James. It's all dirty and it's all gross as far as I'm concerned, but I was never into bar hopping or promiscuity, so maybe I'm the prude in all of this. But it's not behavior that anyone is going to feel good looking at. But the bottom line, James O'Keefe records it for 14 minutes, doesn't get any meaningful intel out of this person, doesn't do anything, doesn't touch her boobs when she asks him to, whether or not the other two hooked up. I don't know. This is all bad behavior in the moral, likelihood of getting yourself into trouble sense. And that's where the video ends. James never published the video. Apparently, as per the email from the tweet from Kyle Seraphin, it somehow got leaked to him and he publishes it. He publishes this video and then blames James for having recorded the video as if James is not in the industry of recording stuff to get people to disclose information. But it's quite clear that this woman could easily be identified by anybody in the domain, in the industry, in DC. If she in fact works for Chuck Schumer, and she is in fact, 20 some odd years old, even 20, underage. I don't know what she's doing in a bar working for Chuck Schumer, but set that aside. Kyle Seraphin releases this video, which James O'Keefe chose not to release, which would easily allow for the identification of the woman, discloses alleged medical information of the woman if she needed an ambulance at the end of this. I'm curious to know if that in fact occurred, because from the suggestion, it was something to do with James O'Keefe's conduct that required an ambulance for her. If it's her drinking herself stupid, I presume it's not the first time, and it's certainly not attributable to James O'Keefe. Bottom line, provides a video which would clearly allow for the identification of the woman, discloses medical information, and in his tweet mentions that she knew what night he was calling her about, so he's soliciting information from this person in an attempt, apparently, ostensibly to take down James O'Keefe. Now recall the last time James O'Keefe was taken down or attempted to be taken down. Remember the last time Project Veritas was infiltrated and destroyed from within in close proximity to a certain Pfizer video that was released. It might have been a coincidence. It might not have been a coincidence. We don't know. Those are the dots. Connect them if you want. Well, it seems from a tweet from James O'Keefe that this attempt to take down James O'Keefe coincides with what he describes as, let me see this, I'll read it so I don't misquote. James O'Keefe, I have evidence that exposes the CIA and it's on camera. I am working on releasing a story that I believe is the most important of my entire career. Do you think it's a coincidence that right at this moment I am subject to an endless series of attacks? This is obviously a sophisticated information operation designed to stop me from releasing this story. I'm sure you recognize they are masters of using half-truths and innuendos to raise doubts against people who don't deserve it. It's meant to consume my time and energy and make me back down. But I'm not going to let it work. Rest assured, nothing will stop me from releasing this story. I urge my followers and supporters to take note of every person participating because this is a time when people reveal themselves for who they are. Half-truths and innuendos. Couldn't have said it better myself, the half-truth being the woman is half his age, as though that was somehow related to anything James O'Keefe did in that video, that she needed an ambulance attention by the end of the evening, as if that had anything to do with what James O'Keefe did in that video, that he's willing to compromise his morals for a story, as if that had anything to do with the publication of that video, which James himself didn't do. It might be that publishing that video might be actionable if it in fact disclosed information that ought not be disclosed to the general public, if it causes this woman harm, intrusion on her medical affairs. Well, James O'Keefe is not the one who published that video, and I strongly suspect that there are good reasons for which James didn't feel the need to release this video. It wasn't material, and it was probably going to be embarrassing for that girl, and it would probably allow her to be identified if she does indeed work for Chuck Schumer in a very small milieu, being that incestuous hellhole that is DC. But Kyle publishes it and then makes a lot of intonations against James O'Keefe. For anybody who doesn't bother go watch 14 minutes of that video, they might come away thinking James O'Keefe did something to that girl, and it is allegedly the week before or on the eve of James O'Keefe releasing the biggest story of his entire career as relates to the CIA. So it might very well be that the former recovering FBI agent has relapsed. It might very well be that he thought he was doing good by publishing this video himself when James O'Keefe decided not to. But the bottom line, every time, or at the very least every time in recent memory, James comes out with a bombshell of a story, people try to take him down. And I'm not defending James for the sake of defending James. I saw this and I was actually prepared to see a video that would make me think twice, second guess my own impression of James. And I'm watching this video and I'm about halfway through and I'm saying, James is being pretty much a gentleman here. I mean, James is not in a bar expected to card people who might be underage and gotten into a bar. James is not there to interfere with what might be routine debaucherous behavior of people. He didn't exploit anything. He didn't touch her boobs when she asked him to. And I suspect James is smart enough to know he is probably the object of a honeypot every day of the week. You think James is stupid enough to do something stupid knowing that everyone wants to take him down? Anyhow, that's it. That's the drama. We'll see where this goes. Because apparently the woman in the video has contacted an attorney according to Kyle Seraphin. So this might go somewhere. But this is, I think, another attempt to slander, defame, malign James O'Keefe. And I've known him for a couple of years. Not so personally, but personally enough. He's been nothing but a gentleman as far as I know, and I don't like it when good people get picked on. It's not fair, it's not nice, and these types of accusations last forever on the internet, even if they get debunked, and I did my best to debunk it, to reply to it, and to make it known that many of us will not sit idly by and shut our mouths while we see good people being defamed and slandered. So that's it. If you like what I do, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, yada, yada, yada. Viva Frei, the Viva Frei on Twitter, vivabarneslaw.locals.com for the best above average community anywhere on the internet. And I left a barbecue going. I better go check on it. Peace out, peeps. Enjoy the weekend. See you Sunday. Booyah!
Touch your boobs.
That's assault, brother.